Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make part 2 of my how to build a prison tutorial. If you haven't followed part 1, then I'm going to suggest that you do that before you move on to this video because it'd look pretty weird just to have the inside of the prison without the outside already made. It might look a little bit confusing, and I don't think it'd actually be effective as a prison. Part 1 you will be able to find in the description below. At the top of the comment section, the thumbnail for the video looks like that. Make sure that you actually have this big prison building that you can see behind me, and once you have followed part 1 along, you can progress on to this part. With all of that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that we want to do for part 2 is work our way around the back of the prison. These are the materials that we are going to start off with. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these. So, back here, the first thing that we want to make is a basketball court. We're going to begin from the front left-hand corner of this part of the prison that sticks out. We'll leave a gap of 2 in the ground, so that will be 1, 2, and this third block here, we are going to dig 9 rows in the ground extending that way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We should be 2 rows away from the fence. The idea is that we then want to dig all the way over to the right, and we want to finish here in the equivalent spot on the right side. So we'll be 2 rows away from the corner of this part of the prison. We want to fill the hole that we have just dug in, this large rectangular shape right here. We want to dig all of this out, replace it using white concrete, and once we've done that, we are going to place a couple of hoops because this is just a rectangle for a small basketball court. The basketball court has 2 hoops, so one either side. It stems from this middle block right here, and we want to place 3 polished black stone walls. So 1, 2, 3. Red terracotta on top. Smooth quartz block either side, and then along the top of everything. We then want to have a cobweb hanging in front and below the red terracotta, with oak signs surrounding the cobweb. And we want to do this on the opposite side also. So the middle block, and by the way, the middle block, it has 4 blocks either side of it. It's quite easy to find. You should be able to just kind of like eyeball it like I did. But if not, it has 4 blocks either side. You don't want it to be wonky, the hoops want to be, you know, in the middle. And we want to have the exact same thing that we have on this opposite side. So that is absolutely perfect. All that we're missing is a basketball, which an orange concrete pounder will actually do nicely. We'll just stick that in the center of the court. The only other thing that we have back here is a bunch of seating. So the seating's really simple to make. Let's start here in this corner of grass. We want to move along 1, 2, and then we want to move forwards 1. So this is the positioning of the first stair here, and we kind of want it to be sort of like centered. That's why we're being a tad specific with these stairs. So from the corner, left 2, forwards 1. We want to place a spruce stair next to this, leave a gap of 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 stair, and then along this back wall here, we are going to extend out from the corner here, leave a gap of 1, 2, 3, 2 stair, 1, 2, 3, 2 stair. And this is how we want these stairs to look. I know that that might not necessarily be intuitive, but it looks nice and balanced the way that we have these set out. So if we come all the way over to here. So it turns out that this side obviously isn't the same size as the opposite side. As I was trying to place all of the seating, I thought something was wrong. It wasn't. This is going to be confusing because I'm talking about something that you guys didn't even see me do. Let's continue. So we're going to follow the exact same strategy as we did over there. So from this corner, we move to the right, 1, 2, move forwards 1, place a stair. You can already see where I placed one previously that you guys didn't see. Place 1 to the right, leave a gap of 3, 1, 2, 3, and then place 2 stair. Then, moving outwards diagonally here, we're going to leave a gap of 1, 2, 3, and then we'll place 2 stair, and then a gap of 1, 2, 3, and then 2 stair. So that is following the exact same strategy as we had over there, and you can see that it actually connects to the guard tower. That is of course because that side is ever so slightly shorter than that side, thus pushing everything one row away. If you're a bit of a stickler for symmetry, this might annoy you. I am not, so I'm going to leave it as it is. So, moving on. We want to move to the front of the prison now. We are actually going to work on the inside. I'm actually going to knock these doors down just because it will be a little bit easier, and I'm going to store all of this stuff away right here, and I'm going to grab these top 2 rows of the chest, which I'm going to suggest that you do as well. You're not going to be grabbing them out of a chest unless you are, which would be a weird coincidence, but these are all of the materials that we are going to use progressing on to the next part. So, first thing we want to do after moving into the first part of our prison is we need to divide up some of these walls. So if we start from the back wall over here and we leave a gap of 6 in the ground, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7th block here, we place a row of cyan terracotta extending across the wall and then fill in the rest of the wall using light grey terracotta. We then leave a gap of 2 here. And this is the left wall as we walk into the room. This left wall here that will... By the way, we can actually dig into this wall and we can place some smooth stone underneath this. And we can place iron doors. And that will be actually our way into the actual prison, like where the cells are. And left of this, we want to place a row of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 cyan terracotta extending forwards and then extend across. We don't want to divide this up in quite the same way, but we want to have a door here. So the floor for this entire area is smooth stone, by the way. So we're going to have a spruce door here. We're going to build up this right side of this little sort of like, it's not a kiosk, it's just like a little room here, sort of reception area, if you will. We want to build up this wall. And then from the top here, we are going to place... Do we want to grab glass block, actually? I used a little bit of glass block to mix things up a little bit. It's such a subtle detail. But the idea is this, that from the top here, glass pane, and then 2 glass block extending up from the counter upwards. Then light grey terracotta to the left, and then the same thing again. So glass pane, a couple of glass blocks like this. That's perfect. So, once we have done this... we also have to make a doorway. So the doorway is literally like right here. As we look forwards, perfect. Underneath this, we can place some smooth stone and we can place a double spruce door. So this is kind of like the entrance laid out, and let me turn these into smooth stone as well. So in doing this, ladies and gentlemen, we can now move on to the next part, which is actually just like tearing the floor up. The floor is really simple. Begin by tearing up whatever floor material you might already have. I've got a bunch of grass here, so that all has to come up. If you coincidentally have a bunch of smooth stone and oak planks and light grey terracotta, that's great, you won't have to do anything, but for the rest of us, we want to tear up all the floor. The first initial room that we walk into is all going to be smooth stone. This also includes the little kiosk reception area that is going to have smooth stone for the floor. The room all by itself, which will be the warden's office, we are going to have a checkered pattern, a mixture of oak planks and light grey terracotta. That's it. Really simple. Okay, so with the floors made, we can now start adding some more detail. So for the first bit of detail inside the first initial room, the sort of like welcome room, if you like, that sounds a little bit nicer than what it is really. We want to, behind this door, have a couple of black stone walls stacked on top of each other, or polished deep slate, actually doesn't matter which you choose. And we want to have a glow item frame in front of the top, block of redstone on top of that. Leave a gap of 1, and then we want to have the same design. This is kind of like a metal detector, just so that, you know, nobody brings anything in that they probably shouldn't, you know? So next to this, we are going to have a mixture of chains extending from the bottom wall here, end rod, couple of chains. This will lead to the office wall. Along the back wall here, or I suppose it's kind of like the front wall, we want to have a couple of terracottas, so kind of like just spaced evenly from each other, so maybe we'll leave like a gap of 2 terracotta, gap of 2 terracotta, something like that, or maybe a gap of 1 terracotta, gap of 1, and then we'll have a couple of leaves on top of this. And I'm actually thinking about adding a couple of windows, so I'm thinking about adding like a window here, and maybe like leave a gap of 2, maybe like a window here, and then we've kind of got some like nice evenly spaced windows. You could use chains for this, or you could use the good old iron bars. Both of them sort of serve the same purpose. The iron bars look kind of cool though. Anyway, we want to then place... More so focused on this reception area here, we need item frames. We need a bunch of stuff. We need item frames, we need the cauldron, we need light grey concrete, we need a chest, we need iron trap doors, tripwire hook, we need lanterns, we need also an armor stand, and so much more as well. So item frames are going to be placed on the 2 counter spaces here. Inside, we are going to have some light grey concretes along this back wall, a couple of them. We'll place like an item frame on one. Some iron trap doors suspended above this little area here that we can stack a lantern on, and we can stack like a tripwire hook. That could be a multitude of things, all of this stuff. We'll have like a cauldron just off here to the side. Next to this, we'll have like an armor stand, a couple of armor stands in the back here, and a chest next to the armor stands. I'm starting to think that we should have like a chair in here. So if we just use the sort of like classic piston design for a chair, maybe like just right next to, maybe not in front of here, maybe like if we just drop a block of redstone in the ground with a piston just on top of it, that'll look pretty good. So it looks nice and cluttered, which I kind of like the effect of back here. What else can we have? Like, I'm thinking, would it look alright to put like chains in an item frame? I don't even know what chains in an item frame looks like. Does it look okay? It kind of looks alright actually, so we could have like that, and we could have extra stuff back here. The armor stands are kind of like to display prison uniforms, so we need a crafting table, we need orange dye, and we need a bunch of armor, which I don't even have in the chest. So I'm thinking that there wouldn't be a helmet for the prison suit, for the jumpsuit. I'm thinking leather tunic, leather pants, and I'm thinking the shoes would probably be, say, like black, or maybe even white, so I'll kind of leave it up to you, but netherite boots would do. So I'm gonna crafting table, orange dye in there, tunic, pants, perfect. So I'm thinking we stack these. I mean, you don't even need the shoes, I suppose, but it kind of just looks like a prison-y outfit. I kind of like that. And then maybe some tripwire hooks above them, kind of like make this area look occupied and feel alive. You could even put, like, in the item frames, you can put parts of the uniform, if you wanted to. I keep getting stuck on that piston, but I think it just makes that area look a little bit cooler. It makes it look a little bit more, you know, a bit more vibrant, perhaps. But anyway, now that we have done that, we also want to add a bit more detail. Maybe I'll wear it. Why not, for the fun of it? Maybe above the warden's office, we'll mark it out. So, like, we'll have a lantern to kind of draw attention to it, and we'll just have, like, an assign of warden's office. That's kind of cool. We want some paintings on the wall, so we need a solid block to place these because we kind of want them placed evenly. So I just want a bunch of 1x1s along this wall here. Maybe even a 1x2. Or maybe we can just have a 1x1. It doesn't really make a difference because we are going to want to have a way to get in and out of here. So a pressure plate would actually be a good move for this door in particular because this is where all the cells are going to be. But you probably wouldn't want a pressure plate on this side. You'd want more of a mechanism, which we're not going to have, obviously. But I'm thinking maybe like a lever here. Like a key system would actually be perfect, and then I don't know, you know, maybe, or maybe a button or something. Like a button might be a bit better because it just doesn't make sense that we have pressure plates on the inside. For me, keeping this realistic, guys. But anyway, let's stick a couple of pressure plates either side of the actual doors, and let's stick some iron doors on the actual front of the prison here. That's perfect. So that will get us in and out. That's fantastic. And now we just have to decorate the warden's office for this third of the prison. So the warden's office is laid out like a regular office would be. So along this side wall here, we are going to have a bunch of bookshelves, which can be interpreted to be anything that you like. On the right side, we are going to have a secretary's desk, so we are going to leave a gap of one from the corner here, have a dark oak stairs, and some dark oak signs next to the stair. In front of this, we'll have 3 polished andesite, and extending from the wall here, we'll have a set of 3 bookshelves. We want to place a flower pot on the desk here, weighted pressure plate. place a birch trapdoor stuck up in front of the pressure plate and then painting inside of it. And then if you wanted a sneaky bit of light, because this area is a little bit dark, and it probably wouldn't be because it's, you know, the warden's office, we can sneak a couple of lanterns here and there. On this wall, I'd also like to have a painting. We are also going to place a sort of like makeshift printer. I mean, it sort of looks like a printer. Again, a little bit of imagination with all of this stuff. So we'll have a loom. Next to this, we want to stack a couple of smooth stone slabs. Next, standing out of it, a white banner. Kind of sort of looks like a printer, I think, if you know, squint. We also want to, along this back wall, we have to place right in the middle of this wall, which is, we've got a row of 3 terracotta, it's the middle one. We place a dark oak stair, dark oak signs either side. In front of this, we want to, let's just grab all of the stuff, guys. We want to grab a lectern, barrels, spruce trapdoor. We need some dark oak signs, end rod, brown glazed terracotta, book and quill, and a flower pot. And in front of this, we want to stick a lectern with book and quill on top of it or inside of it. Barrels either side. We want to place dark oak signs in front of the whole thing. And then I'm thinking we place some spruce trap doors either side of the desk. I don't know why, it's just kind of like it's calling to me. We want to place a flower pot on top of the desk and also an end rod with a brown glazed terracotta on top to look like a lamp. And that's not looking too bad. Of course, we could add some more stuff if we wanted to. We could add some stuff that looked like old school filing cabinets and what have you if you did want to. But you know, I mean, it's not really. I think it kind of might throw off the symmetry of the room a little bit, but you know, you can kind of like add whatever you like. I think that it looks pretty good in here. I'm thinking that maybe we have like a painting on this wall just to kind of, because this room really probably, in my mind, wouldn't be like insanely dark and dim and dingy. Like this is like where somebody would be working most of the time. So, I mean, they might even have like a bunch of paintings on the wall or something, you know? Oh no, that looks a little insane, but you guys get the idea. With the reception and the warden's office complete, we are now able to move on to phase 2. This room is not phase 2. So, phase 2, we are going to first of all crack open this chest, and I'm going to grab the top 2 rows of all of these materials. Please do make sure that you have access to all of these. Phase 2 is going to be that we breaking in to the third of the prison. So if we start in the left corner of this wall here, this is the far wall as we walk out from the reception. We want to leave a gap of 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then destroy a 2 by 2 row in this wall. We then want to move inside of this wall here, and we want to leave a gap of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we want to have 2 rows of cyan terracotta that extend from the middle of that wall all the way to the far wall here. And if we start from, well, I guess we can start from either side. We leave a gap of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we destroy a row of 1, 2. Just like this. Now, that is perfect. What we then want to do is we want to leave a gap of 1 above the doorway here. And we are just going to place a row of cyan terracotta, kind of like just cutting this wall in half. So this is the actual like floor line. Above, where we have the doors on the lower level, we want to have an equal set of doors on the second level. There we go. That's perfect. Now, in doing that, we are now able to dig up some floor and add in some walls. This next part is really simple. We want to dig out the floor inside of the 2 rooms that we have created on the far side of the prison. We want to dig out the floor, and we want to replace the floor using block of iron. We then want to raise up the partition wall between the 2 rooms. We want to raise it up by 3 rows and then install another floor on top of the wall. This floor is also made out of block of iron, and it is in the same level as the cyan terracotta that we have just outside. It lines up perfectly just underneath the 2 doorways that we made for the second floor, so it should be nice and easy to figure out how to place it. And once you have added in the floor on the ground level, the partition wall between the 2 rooms, and the floor on the second level, we are able to move on to the next part. So the rooms on the ground level are basically just 2 sets of showers. So it really doesn't matter which side you start in, but I'm on the side closest to the front of the prison. And we are, first of all, this first shower is a little bit bigger, although maybe we could make the middle shower a little bit bigger. So this first shower, we want to leave a gap of 2 in the wall, starting from the front wall here, leave a gap of 2, place a cyan terracotta. Leave a gap of 3, 1, 2, 3, cyan terracotta. Raise these up to the top of the wall, and we are going to then extend them 1 row outwards. We want a similar configuration on this front wall. Now I remembered why the center shower, or the larger shower, was at the front. It's because on the front wall of the prison, we place the cyan terracottas from the ground up to the ceiling, in between the iron bars. But it doesn't mean to say that we have to have the same setup on both sides. It's up to you. Again, it sort of depends whether you like symmetry. Anyway, for these showers, we are going to place... So this shower right here, it doesn't really matter if it kind of like covers up the bars a little bit. In my mind, the showers always go on the right side, like this. So we'll have an end rod extending down from the ceiling, iron trapdoor below, stone buttons on the wall next to the shower head, and then we want to place in the ground, we'll place a loom for a drain, so this is directly below the head. And we'll just do this on both sides, so no matter which side, the shower head will go in the middle, and we want to have the drain in the ground below it, and also the trapdoors extending down from the end rods like this. So I kind of like it being a little bit asymmetrical. I think it makes the room look a little bit more interesting, perhaps. That might just be me. Anyway, once you've done that to one side, we are going to come all the way over and do it to the opposite side. So it's easier to start on this wall. We'll place the 2 separating rows of cyan terracotta extending from the bars, and then why don't we copy it for this side? So for this particular room, we will copy the same configuration that we had originally. So not here, but here we have a bit of symmetry, and you can kind of then see for yourself, like, oh, which do I like better? It's such a subtle choice, but it is a choice nonetheless. So we want to make the showers all in the exact same way. We want to have the buttons, the looms, the end rods. We want all of those on the right side, not necessarily in that order. And we want to place them, no, not there. And then looms here, perfect. And there you go. That's great. So again, it kind of depends. It's such a subtle change, it almost doesn't make a difference. If you like, you can even have like banners for kind of like towels in some of the showers. Maybe the larger showers, maybe that's how we can kind of like differentiate them a little bit. We probably wouldn't place too much else in here. They are prison showers after all. They're not going to be too fancy. They're not going to come with too many extras, you know. And it's a good job I actually came in here because I forgot the buttons. So those are the showers, and those are 100% fully complete. Which leads us onto the next floor, which we have no way of getting to. Oh wait, we can fly. So, first things first, this is the cafeteria. So, for the cafeteria, we have to change the structure ever so slightly. So, we have to extend out the wall. So, this is the entrance wall, and we want to, first of all, we'll just extend around the doorways. So, we'll do this on both sides. And then we want to extend a further 2 rows extending in towards the center. So if you start off by just expanding the light grey terracotta around the doorways, add an extra 2 rows, that will leave a nice natural row 4 in the middle. So we're going to place a couple of smokers in the middle, cyan terracotta either side, expand the cyan terracotta outwards, add blast furnaces either side of the terracottas with cobblestone wall extending from the blast furnaces up to the ceiling. What we then want to do is add block of iron next to the blast furnaces. They want to be stacked 2 on top of each other with buttons in front of them. Then we're going to place yellow terracotta either side of the blocks of iron and then extend those yellow terracotta forwards 1, 2 rows, and on this side it's going to be 1, 2, 3 rows. Extend the yellow terracotta on the right side all the way over to the left with lime terracotta in the corner extending up to the ceiling. We have to be able to get behind this counter space, so we'll just knock out a gap of 1 right here. So we then have to grab birch trapdoor, item frame, clocks, lantern, brewing stand, flower pot, cauldrons, stuff to put on / in the cauldron, so we'll first of all grab bread and mutton. So we're going to stack lanterns in the top 2 corners here with brewing stand on top of the cyan terracottas and flower pots in front. On this back wall, we are going to place a birch trapdoor flip down that sort of looks like a calendar, and right of it an item frame with a clock in it. The clock actually doesn't look even remotely like a clock, however it is a clock. So once we have placed that, we want to place a couple of item frames on the right side over here and a couple of item frames on the left side of the counter space as well. We then want to place a bunch of cauldrons. The cauldrons, you can place as many as you like, but the idea is I think that they're going to kind of like occupy the center space here, and then we want to place glass in front of these. It's kind of like a sneeze guard, like so. They may even flare out an extra row on either side. We can add item frames to every other cauldron, place bread, place mutton, and then we can place what I would describe as mush in the rest of them. So like a moss carpet can kind of be anything. It can be vegetables. Yellow carpet could be the same. Orange carpet, you know, it's kind of like a, hey, that sort of looks like food, and it is implied that it is because it is next to other food. You guys know what I'm saying. So now that we have done that, we don't need a cash register because nobody's paying. At least, I mean, you shouldn't for the quality of food here. I certainly wouldn't pay. And now that we have done that, we are going to make some tables. The tables made using quartz stairs, light grey carpet, and end rods. We are going to space these pretty evenly. We'll place, and it's kind of symmetrically as well. So in the corners here, where we have the 2 terracotta, we'll have 2 quartz stairs next to each other, end rods in front, quartz stairs on the opposite side, and light grey carpets on top of the end rods. In this back corner, we'll have the same, so stairs, end rods, quartz stairs, light grey carpet on top. You can place an extra set of tables here if you like. I'm not. So on the opposite side of the room, I'm going to have the same configuration of tables, just like this, using the exact same blocks. It probably wouldn't be too colourful and interesting in here, I'm going to be honest with you guys. So what we're then going to do is kind of line up with the counter space here, and we'll have, again, another table. So using the exact same quartz stairs, end rod, light grey carpet configuration, we'll have a bunch of tables just kind of symmetrically placed in the kind of just like in the middle of the, leaving a middle center space. What am I even saying? We are placing the tables in such a way that we have a row of 4 in between them, kind of like right in the middle of the room. That's what I was trying to say. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to place cyan terracotta, cauldrons, and item frames. I want to place cyan terracotta in between these set of tables, have maybe like a cauldron built in here, a couple of item frames just kind of like strewn about the place. You could have like a bread, and this is kind of like waste food. That's kind of the idea of this all here. If you want, you can even make it a bit more apparent by placing like a trapdoor on top of these cauldrons. But something that I also want to do is kind of like add some more windows. So the windows I'm placing in the space in between the tables along this back wall, and also right in the center of the wall above the cyan and cauldron here. And honestly, that sort of like completes the cafeteria. There's not really too much more to add in this room. I would, however, kind of like integrate the floor a little bit better into the rest of the floor. So just like destroy those terracottas, replace it with block of iron, and I think that that looks a little bit better. Okay. This next part is the part that I have been looking forward to the most, because I think that this really does bring the whole prison together. We have to make all of the cells and the walkway, the center part of the prison that literally does, thinking about it, literally does bring and connect everything together. Let's start on the front wall of the prison, and we'll start all the way over here on this left side. So, first of all, we want to leave a gap of 4. this is how wide the cells are. So from this corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to place a light grey terracotta. 1, 2, 3, 4, light grey terracotta, and that will leave a row for right of this. We want to extend those terracottas 3 rows forward, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We want to raise these rows up by, well, 3 as well. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. The inside of the cells are actually going to be made out of andesite. So I'm just going to quickly just fill the bottoms of these in using andesite, just so that you get an idea of like how these actually do look. I want to like make the structure of kind of like how these are laid out a little bit better. We will then continue to extend up the light grey terracotta like this. So this is kind of perfect, just in between all of the cells, and then you kind of like get the idea of how much space there is. Like underneath the actual like doors of the cells, like we'll probably have either like cyan terracotta, or we want to place either cyan terracotta or light grey concrete, or maybe even just light grey terracotta underneath where the bars of the cells will be. This one little gap here is where we will actually like get in and out of each individual cell. So in front of these, on the second floor, we are also going to have a walkway. This is made using 2 rows of cyan terracotta with a row of light grey terracotta in front of it. We'll then have bars on top of the actual light grey terracotta portion, and this walkway actually leads all the way around like the second floor of the prison. And we also want to have light grey terracotta. So the idea is we also want to have a set of stairs. So funnily enough, where I placed this chest is right in the middle of this wall. So the middle of the wall is also where we have the 2 separating rows of cyan terracotta. And from these rows, we'll have a break in the light grey terracotta that kind of like borders the edge of the walkway. And we want to have a set of stone brick stairs that leads all the way down to the middle. So this is the only second story of the actual prison. We have half of the middle part of the prison that is second story, that has a bunch of cells, and then we just have the cafeteria. That's the only kind of like second floor of the entire prison, and that set of stairs is the only way to get up there, and you can imagine what the other half will look like. Well, from here we are going to now make one complete cell, and we'll start off here just in the corner because I just kind of like the idea that, you know, this is the first cell. So each individual cell will have a floor of andesite, as I mentioned. So we'll have 3 rows of andesite at the back, and then we'll take this row here, just on the right, we'll flare this forward. We'll have cyan terracotta underneath. If you did want to, just so that the floor looks a little bit better on the second story, you could have it all be andesite, but regardless of such, we are going to have cyan terracotta above us anyway, so, you know, there's no real way to have it otherwise, so. Every single one of the prison cells are made in the exact same way, no matter what position in the prison it's in. So, once you have made one, you should easily be able to replicate it and repeat the process as many times as you need to yourself. So, I'll only be showing you how to make this the once. Let's get started. To begin, we are going to place iron bars connecting the floor and the ceiling together. These are placed on top of the cyan terracottas, and we extend them all the way up to the next floor. We then want to take the top iron bar and extend it to the right and join it to the next cell or wall that it will be joined to. Inside of the cell, in the back left corner here, we are going to place a white bed suspended 1 row off of the ground. Underneath the bed, we want to place another bed, and at the ends of the beds, we want to place open warped fence gates. So we have a bunk bed and we have what sort of look like ladders. In the opposite corner of the back wall, we want a cauldron with an oak trapdoor on top of it, looks like a toilet, and left of this, an upside down waxed cut copper stairs, tripwire hook above it, this looks like a sink. Last but not least, a lantern in the top back right corner of the wall, and that is a prison cell. With the prison cell complete, ladies and gentlemen, that allows us to make every other cell in the exact same way, and add some finishing touches to the floor and the ceiling. So this is the final part of the tutorial. First of all, we are going to fill all of these cells in that we have already made. I've already showed you guys how to do this. If you have any trouble, just refer back to the first cell that we made, and I'm sure that you will easily be able to complete all of the other 5 that are on this side. Now, once those cells have been made, however, we have to make the infrastructure for the other 6 cells. So we'll dig up the floor on the lower level, replace it with andesite, we will add in all of the walls, all of the terracotta required to separate and make ourselves 6 cells, including all of the cyan terracotta as well that we will be placing the bars upon. We also have to make the walkway that will allow us to get to the upper level, to the top 3 cells on that particular side. So remember, that's a couple of rows of cyan terracotta in front of the actual cells themselves, with a row of light grey terracotta in front and some iron bars. That will just connect to the stairs the exact same way that it did on the opposite side of the build. Now, once you have the cells laid out, once you have the actual rooms themselves, you will of course have to fill all of those in with the exact same method that we used on the opposite side of the build. So each one of those 6 cells made in the exact same way, nothing different about them whatsoever. So that will give us 12 in total, and once those have been made, we have to rip up the entire ground floor that is in the center of the room, so in between all of these cells themselves. And basically all we're going to do is place cyan terracotta kind of like around the edge of the room in a U shape everywhere except underneath the stairs, and we'll just have 2 rows of cyan terracotta just kind of like bordering around all of the cells except underneath the stairs, as I mentioned. That will be 2 solid unbroken rows. They kind of like lead to the showers as well. You guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Then in the middle of the terracotta we will rip up all of the grass and replace that using andesite. Now, once that has been done, nice and plain, we want to add a giant skylight to this particular part of the prison. It might not make too much sense. It is kind of like an escape hazard, but it just kind of adds something. I really like it. So basically, just inside all of the space where the andesite sits, essentially, in the ceiling we're going to dig out that same shape and replace it with glass, and that's going to provide a nice amount of light. I also have to replace a couple of smooth stone blocks on the roof just that I used to break in and place chests earlier. I also have to remove some chests, and once that has been done, that is actually the entire build, or at least this portion of it. That is the entire prison made, except for one thing. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I do hope that you have enjoyed this part of the tutorial. Please do remember to like and subscribe. Click that little bell next to the subscription button. That will ensure that you get all of my videos sent directly to your sub box. However, that leaves but one thing. There is a part 3. In part 3, I will show you how to make the prison bus. That is the last remaining little bit of detail that you may or may not want to add to your prison. You'll be able to find that in the description below. The thumbnail for that video will look like this. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. You guys know what to do if you want to make that. I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.